Hey, Salvador Briggman here. Today let's talk about email marketing and kind of go into the email marketing techniques I recommend for a Indiegogo or a Kickstarter campaign. But this will also apply, I think, across the board to any kind of launch that you're doing, whether it's e-commerce related or another type of launch. So I really want to get a little bit more in depth into that in this video. It's coming up right after this. I'll start this video by just saying that there are so many tools when it comes to anything related to marketing, right? There are just like a plentiful amount of tools. And I think the reason is that some different people and different personalities like different tools. When I was first getting started, I would always be like obsessing over, oh, this tool or that tool or this camera, that camera, I would always be obsessing about like the craft and the tools that you can use. And what I've come to learn over time is that it almost doesn't matter, right? They're pretty much all the same. There are like minute differences between them. At the end of the day, you can use any tool effectively to communicate your message, whether that is a camera. I've used really not so great cameras in the past, and I've had thousands and thousands of views on my videos. It doesn't matter, right? Same thing with a podcasting microphone. It doesn't really matter. So at the end of the day, it's really about getting it to be good enough, right? So that you can actually use it effectively for email marketing. So the first part of this video, I want to go into what are some of the email marketing software tools that I recommend. Then I kind of want to get into the best practices for email marketing. And also we'll start this whole video, which is even why is this something that I'm talking about this year? Why is it still relevant to you when there are all these other social media behemoths and platforms out there which you could technically also use? So the reason why I'm talking about email is that social media is really fascinating, very important, great way to have reach. But at the end of the day, you don't own your social media page, platform, website, if it's built on something else. You don't really own it. At any point in time, you can have your service provider who, let's just say, runs your cloud storage like Amazon Web Service. They can decide to silence you, or they can decide to say, you know what, I don't think that we like whatever it is that you're posting or the type of product that you have or the PR attention related to your business. Another one would be Facebook, right? Facebook at any point in time can decide to change their algorithm and you no longer have as big of a page view or visibility with your page, or they decide to ban you or suspend you, or they don't like your ad, so they decide you can't advertise anymore, right? Same thing with all these other tools like Google, right? Google, maybe you have your site ranking for a bit, but then all of a sudden the algorithm changes and now your site's not ranking so much. So social media is kind of, to me, like something that's meant to be used. It's meant to be used for a certain purpose, but it's really not the home base for your business. Even YouTube, I don't view this as the home base for my business, right? This is just another marketing channel for me in the way that you have a video channel. If you're going and you're clicking through cable news networks, you have your own little TV station, kind of like this, right? That's how I view social media. Email, it is your home base, and here's why. When you think about all the people who have seen your messages, all the people, let's just say in my network, who know me, that's very valuable, because that's you building a relationship with another human being on this planet. And the more you build those relationships and you're able to track those people as they go around this planet and continue to communicate with them, you can then push them to offers, you can solve their problems. It's no longer about software, right? Software is enabling this relationship that you have with your customers. Now, I know that might seem a little bit heady or kind of like abstract, but to kind of think of it this way, let's just say that Facebook silenced your Facebook page. You no longer could use Instagram. Your website, for whatever reason, was taken offline. How do you still communicate with your customers in that situation? With email. That's the only way that you can really get around that, or if you have their text message number and you're using text message marketing, right? That's really the only way you can get around that. So at the end of the day, if everything fails, you are still going to have your email list when it comes to your marketing, and that means you can never be taken out. It's one of those cool things. It's like a bedrock in the foundation for your business. So how can you go about building this? Well, first of all, you need a software tool to be able to do email marketing. A software tool is going to do a few different things. Number one, it's going to house all of those emails. For me, that might be like 30,000 emails, or you might have 100,000 emails, right? At the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of emails of people that you're communicating with in a marketing sense. It could start off very small. It could be 500 people. It could be 200 people. It's going to be a lot easier than if you tried to individually, Gmail send a message to every one of those people. Instead, you want to use a software tool. Number two, the reason why you want to use a tool is that you can see the open rates and the click-through rates for every email marketing campaign that you send. So if I send an email, let's just say to 1,000 people, and let's just say that 40% of those people open it, 400 people open it, I can see that, and I can see the names and the emails of those people that are going to be most engaged with that particular communication. Number two, I can also see the percentage of people that click the link in that email, maybe sending them to the Kickstarter launch, maybe sending them to my online website, sending them to some kind of a social media group or something like that. I can track that. I can visibly see that. I can see the quality of my list of leads based on those metrics. In addition, I can also see the people that are actually clicking those links. So it is a little bit, spooky in that way, but it's very useful for you as a marketer who's trying to sell your product to the world. The other incredible thing about email marketing is that when you're sending out an email, it doesn't have to be at that moment in time. So you can actually schedule an automated email sequence where you're sending out emails based on one kind of contact point that a subscriber has with you. So let's just say they join your newsletter, then you're going to send out automatically one email, let's just say every single week until the next 6 months if you wanted to. It's that powerful. The next thing beyond just these autoresponder sequences would be segmentation, right? So let's just say that rather than bothering my entire email list, I wanted to segment my audience, and I wanted to just send marketing communications to the people that are the most engaged, the people that are opening the emails, or the people that are clicking the links in the emails. You can actually segment your audience using some of the software tools that I am going to mention. And the final thing I'll say is that when it comes to this, you can also track all of this. You can track sales, you can track replies to your emails. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with an email marketing tool that you can't do on your own. And this is why 100% you should use email marketing software if you're doing any kind of a launch, whether that's on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, another crowdfunding website, or more of a traditional e-commerce launch. Okay, now that we got that out of the way and you understand why this is so important for you to take action on, let's get into some of these software tools, right? So first of all, probably the easiest low-hanging fruit one that's free, I think up until like 2,000 subscribers or so, is MailChimp, right? MailChimp is kind of like what most beginning marketers get started with, just because it is really easy to use. It's relatively straightforward. The cost structure is pretty transparent. And it's something that I think if you're new to marketing, you can very easily get set up with a MailChimp free account. Now, if you want to do any kind of like sophisticated marketing, or you want to work with someone like me to help you with marketing, you're going to need to at least upgrade to the basic level when it comes to MailChimp, so you can have other people that are helping you out with your MailChimp account. So that's going to be the first tool I recommend. The next tool is something I think is a little bit more sophisticated, and I would say something that is a little just on another higher tier, if you will, and that would be Aweber. So within this, like Aweber, another one would be SendGrid. There are a bunch of other ones, you can use like Drip, etc. GetResponse. Like there's a lot of cool ones out there, I think, that are in this like middle tier. So GetResponse, Aweber, some of these other ones you can check out and look into those if you're interested in just like upgrading a tiny bit with your functionality, and I'll do my best to link those up in the description. But I would say that from my own experience with marketing, probably the best one out there. Like, there's a lot of other like more intense tiers. So I'm going to talk about like what I think is the best one, probably if you really want to splurge a bit and get like high end, and then kind of like the really advanced. So right now, it's always changing, but right now at least, ActiveCampaign, I really love the functionality of ActiveCampaign. It looks beautiful. It's very cool. There's a lot of different stuff you can do. It can get pricey depending on where it is you're going with in terms of functionality. But I would say ActiveCampaign is a great tool for a sophisticated marketer. Another one would be ConvertKit. Now, ConvertKit tends to be more in line with coaches and consultants, but it can also be used for e-commerce as well. So I'd say ActiveCampaign would be one of my first choices if you want like like a really like beautiful, professional looking email marketing tool. If you're just getting started, MailChimp will definitely suffice for you. And then if you're in the high end, like the really high end of what you're trying to do sophistication wise, Infusionsoft is probably the go-to when it comes to that. Though there are other ones that are coming about all the time to try and replace it. The biggest drawback, in my opinion, with Infusionsoft is it's a nightmare to learn. It's a very steep learning curve. There's a lot of stuff that you have to get sorted out with that. Though you can do very sophisticated marketing campaigns, it is a bit more of a headache, and it's going to take more time and much more money to implement a solution like that. So I would say, to recap here with the software, MailChimp is really basic and easy. ActiveCampaign is another good one. ConvertKit is kind of like in the intermediary, a little bit more aimed at coaches and consultants, but still really good, and something kind of that compete a little bit with Infusionsoft. And Infusionsoft is like the big granddaddy that's, expensive, but also very powerful, and you have to know what you're doing to use that tool. So now that you have your tool, which I'll link up some of these down below, what are some of the best practices with marketing, and how are you going to incorporate this into an e-commerce launch? With regards to like the best practices, there's a bunch out there, and I think that it's really going to depend on your category in some instances, but I'm going to try to share some that I think are general across the board, important for you to do. So the first one is that it begins with the actual beginning of the funnel. Now, there are marketers out there who will tell you, you don't need to collect someone's name. It's just important to have their email address. I'm one of those people that do not agree with that. I think that the more contact information you have of someone, the more you can personalize your marketing, which improves the open rates for your marketing and improves the conversion rates. When someone feels like they're being talked to specifically, it's more likely they're going to take action than if you're just some random blasting out this email to a bunch of people. And conversion rates and engagement matter far more than simple big numbers when it comes to marketing. I've worked with people before who have had, like, let's just say 6,000 emails, but the way they went about gathering them and having no contact information, it was virtually impossible to convert that list into buyers. So it doesn't matter if you have a big list. I've had other people who have 12,000 emails, and like you'll be really surprised, like the abysmal rate that this email list will convert. It's not about numbers. It's about engagement. It's about conversions. It's about relevancy, right? That at the end of the day is going to make the most sense. If you think about it, would you rather be surrounded by, let's just say you're trying to sell a product, like in the olden days, you're holding up a product, you're on some kind of a stage, and like the villagers are coming and they're circling you, right? Would you rather have be in the middle of a massive crowd of people and shouting and trying to sell your product and no one is paying attention, but there are lots and lots of people moving by your little podium or your platform, and they're all jostling about and they're all having fun, but they're not really paying attention to you. They're not selling any of your product. Would you rather be in that situation or be in a tight, small-knit village where 20 people maybe are surrounding you and eager to buy your product? I'd rather be in the second situation because you have more attention, you're gonna make more money because of the engagement versus just the numbers of people on that imaginary fictitious street that we're talking about in this example, right? Same thing goes with email marketing. So one of the first ways that you can improve those conversion rates is to gather their name, if possible, and any other relevant information. I recommend at least with the name. That way you can send a tailored marketing campaign, and you can use functionality in your given software tool in order to customize the name when you're addressing it to that person, right? So in the subject line or in the actual body text of the email. Number two, don't overdo the layout and the graphics when it comes to your email marketing. And here's why. When you begin to get super fancy with your graphics, I tend to find it has a diminishing effect. And here's why. When it comes to graphics, people can like them. They can look really nice. It can be almost like an advertisement. And let me ask you this. Whenever you get an advertisement in the mail, what do? Usually you throw it out. It's just like more spam, more stuff you don't need. You might take a look at it and be like, wow, that looks kind of nice, maybe. And you toss it right into the bin. So nowadays, people are so tuning out. We're taught to tune out marketing. We're taught to tune out advertisements. When you're even watching a YouTube video, many of you are tuning out the ads on that particular YouTube video. As a human being, we are taught this autonomous, habitual response. So the way that you get around that is by not positioning yourself as a marketer. If I was to send you a letter and it looks like a letter, you're at least going to open it. You're going to know it's not spam. If it's going to read more like a letter that's addressed to you, you're going to be far more likely to take the time to actually see what this is about versus you already know it's a brochure for something you're not interested in and you're just going to throw it out immediately, right? So a lot of the marketing I do actually is very bare bones when it comes to the really good graphics and like that kind of stuff. With email marketing specifically, it's more bare bones. It looks like it was almost like informally sent to you. I mean, even have a spelling error in there or something like that, or a lowercase I, all these little like details just to show that this is actually sent to an individual. This isn't a huge, big mass communication to tons and tons of subscribers and they're just gonna ignore it. It's gonna get caught in the promotional tab. So that's one of the simple techniques I use, is to make it more bare bones, more streamlined, and you'll see a lot of experienced direct response marketers also have that strategy. Another tip would be to make sure that when you're sending your initial emails, to always ask for a reply. And here's why. The biggest thing as an email marketer is not to gather emails. If you follow my teachings with my videos on my YouTube channel, you are virtually guaranteed to get traffic and to convert that traffic if you follow what I teach you. And also in my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, right? If you follow that, you're gonna have good results. But the problem is you're not actually competing anymore with just an individual. You're competing with algorithms. And here's what I mean by that. When you send an email, right? Let's just say it goes out via MailChimp. It's going out, let's just say, to 1,000 people. Well, first of all, when it goes into their email inbox and is delivered, where does it go? Usually it's gonna go to their promotions tab, right? So they're not even gonna see it necessarily. It might just get stuck in their promotions tab or maybe even in their social tab. It's not gonna be in their primary inbox for most people that are out there. So you're actually, you're battling this bot, this analytics tool, which is deciding, is it a personal contact? Is it a social contact? Is it a promotional contact? And more often than not, they're gonna be putting you in the promotional category, which is the same thing you might do when you get a bunch of mail and you're like, oh, this is a promotion, and I just throw it in the waste bin, right? How do you get around that? Well, first of all, you need to make sure that you condition someone from the second they opt in to your email newsletter to expect something from you. So they're gonna be looking to open up the very first email that you send. Number two, you want to try to get that person to reply to your first couple of emails. And here's why. The more that the email tool, let's just say Gmail, is showing that you're replying and interacting with the sender, all of a sudden the analytics tool is like, oh, this isn't a spam bot. This isn't some random person that's emailing this guy and I'm gonna put him in the promotions tab. Instead, this is actually someone he wants to communicate with. So all of your newer communications are gonna go to your main email inbox, which improves your deliverability rates, improves your overall conversions, and also makes people much more likely to see your emails. The issue that you typically run into as an email marketer is not that, again, you can't get people on the email list. It's more of the percentage of people that are viewing the actual emails that you are sending. And it's not because of the human beings or that they're getting so many emails already. It's usually based on the algorithms within their own email client or their own email inbox. The next tip that I have for you is to create emotion from your emails. And here's why. When sometimes you are just sending like rote communication and information, it can be very useful. It can be very helpful, right? But at the end of a very long day, people don't usually want to read more of that. I'm just being honest. Like, I even know with my books, most people who buy my books probably don't read all the way through it, right? It's just how human beings are. Like, we don't like to read very much. We don't like to process very much information. There are a few people like me, like you, who really love learning and love, going through an entire book and stuff like that. But most people don't. Most people want a hit of adrenaline. They want a hit of dopamine. They want to feel good when they're interacting with your content, and they want it to feel like it's not work, right? So the easiest way to make it feel like it's not work is to tell stories within your content. To tell stories when it comes to your product, when it comes to you, the founder, what it is you're up to, putting in little bits of personality into your emails. It's gonna make people much more likely to relate with you, much more likely to feel an emotion, right, when you're actually writing something, and it's gonna make them have an emotional connection to you at the end of the day. I've sent emails to people and they'll reply and they'll be like, oh my gosh, Sal, like you had me laughing, like this is amazing. Or, oh yeah, I'm also a coffee addict, like little details that I put in my emails. And rather than shying away from showing personality as a business person, instead, the more personality you show, and it's really just like a seasoning, kind of like if you're gonna cook a piece of chicken, you need to put some seasoning on it, right, first. You're not coating the thing with seasoning. You're just sprinkling a little bit on just to juice it in the flavor, and you can taste it. It just, there's that pop, right? Same thing goes with email marketing. It's just, if you just sprinkle on a little bit of personality throughout it, people no longer see you as just like some big faceless corporation or some big company. Instead, they see you as an individual. They see you as a personality. They see you as a real person. And other clients that I've worked with, when I've done this and I've told stories, that the actual subscribers have related to it. And it's so amazing to get those types of replies from people. Like you never would expect that people would actually reply to you with a genuine reply to one of these emails that you sent out. But the more you can sprinkle personality and tell stories of how I was able to invent this thing, or why it is that I'm doing this, or something that happened to me funny yesterday, and then kind of use that as a segue to get into your main message, the easier you're going to get people to respond to you. The final thing I'm going to say about email marketing, is because I have to jump on a call right now, is that basically longer content tends to outperform shorter content. Now, I don't mean long and boring. I'm not talking about like sending a training manual to someone, right? But if you send a long email that's engaging, interesting, and tells a story, it's going to outperform shorter content. You're not trying to send out a message that's going to resonate with everyone. Instead, what you're doing is you're trying to weed out the people that aren't relevant to you and that aren't interested in buying the product that you have. And you're trying to attract only that core group of people who are really excited to buy the product. And kind of going back to my analogy of like, you know, if you had a podium or you were on a small stage and you were trying to sell this product like in the olden days, like, hey guys, like get your really good pens here, or get your really nice, you know, bag here, right? And you're trying to be a merchant in the olden days and sell this. It's not about just like shouting it out to tons and tons of people on the street and everyone's just walking by you, not really caring, just kind of tuning you out because they know you're a salesperson, you know? It's not about that. Instead, it's about turning away all of the villagers who aren't interested in buying the product and only attracting, let's just say, that small, tight-knit group of 20 people who really do want to buy it, and then talking directly to them and ignoring everyone else. You might say something that these tiny, 20 group of people really like, and everyone else doesn't really care, or they think it's boring, or it's like, that's stupid, and they go and they stomp off, and they go back home, or they go to tend their garden, or to, plant new farm fruits and vegetables, right, in their field. That's fine. You're not interested in attracting those people. You want to turn them away. Instead, you want to get those people who are really interested almost to be more tight-knit around what it is you're trying to present to them. And in that way, you convert a heck of a lot more than if you were just trying to shout from the rooftops about this new product and no one is listening to you. So hopefully that video was helpful for you. I got to jump on a call right now, but thank you for listening. My name is Sal. Give me a thumbs up. Come subscribe to this channel if you want more content like this, and I'll see you next time.